Welcome to From the Den podcast, providing Bears and NFL fans alike with compelling news, discussion, and debate. I'm your co-host Benjamin, joined alongside my dear friend and co-host Oren.
Hey Benjamin, let's get right into it. As always, kickoff starts now.
All right, Oren, take it away with your grade for Joe Burrow.
So the Cincinnati Bengals with the first pick Joe Burrow. I thought it was kind of a no-brainer. I really thought if a team wanted to move up to get that pick, they would have to get so many assets because he's just once in a generation player. He may have his biggest weakness I would say is arm strength, but I think in general, just the way he played last year, it's if he brings half of that to the NFL, he'll still be a great quarterback. And the Bengals are, first of all, Dalton's getting old. The Bengals really just really need a leader. I feel like their organization has just always been not great. They haven't won a playoff game in forever. They need a leader, and Joe Burrow is that guy. For that reason, I think I'll give it an A.
All right, yeah, Oren, I agree with what you were saying, but before I get into that, I just want to lay out my three main factors for deciding on these grades. So first is the player's overall talent. That's pretty self-explanatory if I think the player is talented. Second is the player's value for where they were taken. So there could be a great second-round player, for example, but if they were taken in the top 10, then that would really lower their grade. And finally, if the player addresses their team needs. So if a player takes a great wide receiver, but they've already got if a team takes a great wide receiver, but they've already got three other good wide receivers on their team, then that would lower the grade that I'm giving them because I don't think they really needed that. Okay, so now back to Joe Burrow. Sorry about that. I also gave him an A. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. He's top quarterback in this draft, a generational player like you mentioned. And if another team wanted to get him, they'd have to trade a lot. So, yeah, not much else to say. I think you covered it.
I don't have that much to say against Joe Burrow, but my personal one concern, and I feel like this could be argued the other way very much, but he only had one good season. And I get when he was with Ohio State, he was backing up good quarterbacks, and when he played at LSU, he had 16 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. But I'm just a bit concerned that he's not a one-year wonder.
You know, I've heard you say that before, and we're just talking in separate conversations. You know, I've contemplated that for a little bit, but I actually heard an interview or some clip of Joe Burrow talking, and it was basically saying, I've been putting in hard work for the past 3 years, and this last season, his Heisman-winning season, was just basically the reward for what he's been doing. So I think of it more as a breakout year more than the outlier.
No, I agree. I think that he did a lot of hard work. He had good receivers, a good team.
Yeah, and also in terms of the good receiver argument, while some people could say, Joe Burrow was improved by his good receivers, I think you could also say that his receivers were improved by having Joe Burrow at quarterback. Sorry for interrupting you there.
I'm not taking away from Joe Burrow that he had Justin Jefferson and other good receivers, but what I am saying is that when in this positive situation, he played unreal. My only concern is that maybe Cincinnati, where he came into the LSU, I'm not saying that I doubt they would have won the national championship without him. Even a quarterback just a level below, even a Justin Herbert, who's a great quarterback, I don't think they would have won with him. But I'm saying is in the NFL, he's not going to be on a team with such superior talent compared to the other teams.
Well, honestly, I've heard I heard the announcers kind of saying that after Burrow was drafted about how he had so much talent surrounding him. I don't know. I feel like having AJ Green and some other great wide receivers and talents on that team, Cincinnati is really not the worst offense to go on to. They just were kind of in a slump.
No, you're right. Especially if you look at, for example, Miami. They have Devontae Parker. They have maybe Mike Gesicki.
Yeah, what I'm saying, basically, there are much worse locations where Joe Burrow could have landed.
Yeah, you're right. But my only problem is their offensive line. They have a young offensive line. They have Jonah Williams, who didn't play all last year, offensive tackle from Alabama. But I think that their wide receivers are good. Joe Mixon is good. I think he's planning a holdout, which would be interesting. They don't have a great tight end, but that's not their worst offense to go into. I'm worried about their defense because if Joe Burrow is put in a situation where he has to score 30, 35 points a game to even win a game, and he doesn't do that and his confidence gets lowered, then maybe he'll regress to the point that he was in his first year at LSU, because obviously his confidence grew throughout the year in LSU, and that's why he probably played that great.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. I'm gonna move on from here just because we've got a lot more picks to discuss. So the Redskins taking defensive end Chase Young, also not a surprise. I would say that would be pretty dumb if they didn't take Chase Young at 2. Chase Young is the best defender in this draft, pretty undebatably. And for that reason, I give the Redskins an A for this selection. I don't, again, short little speech there. That's all.
Yeah, I can't really argue with any of that. I would say that I think Chase Young is the best player in this draft. He's better than Joe Burrow, better than Jeff Okuda, better than every player in this draft. And I think there are a few reasons why. But the main one is that when he played in college, first of all, he was dominant. But what makes him such a great prospect is he has speed. He can win with speed. He has power. He can win with power. And he has great pass rush moves. He has all of those. And in college, he used a bit of one, a bit of another, and he still was dominant. I'm scared myself to see a player like Chase Young have the ability to unlock that potential. I think that especially for him, right now, he has the skills to be a Hall of Famer. I know that's a huge thing to say.
I mean, but you could say that for any player in the first
No,
round in the top
I
10.
mean, yes,
I get what you mean, though. He really has no weaknesses as
he
a
has
defensive
no
end.
real weaknesses. It's not
Yeah.
like I just can't see a real situation where he doesn't become a Pro Bowler.
Well, yeah, I could say that for Joe Burrow too. I mean, not to go back here, but just a little side note. Like, as long as there's not a total collapse, I couldn't see Joe Burrow being any less than an average NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
But all right, yeah.
Also for Chase Young, I would also say that what makes that selection great, I would give it an A still. But they have Jonathan Allen, they have Daron Payne, they have him, they have Matt Ioannidis coming off the bench. They have such a great defensive line, and I'm not saying that they're going to win 8 games because they really have not a great offense. Darius Geis is constantly injured. You don't know what you're getting
No,
from
I
him.
understand. It's a process, though. It's a process,
Yeah,
and
but like also
Chase Young is the start to having a franchise
exactly, they have
piece.
no secondary. They don't have amazing linebackers, like middle linebackers. So I'm not saying that they're going to be amazing, but I'm saying is that if they keep rebuilding the way that they are and their players turn out to be pretty solid, then
Hmm.
they could be a pretty scary team in the future.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the third pick, the Lions picked Jeff Okuda, and I have to give that an A minus. I think he really is a exceptional player. They lost Darius Slay. They traded him to Philadelphia. And I think that, especially in a division where you're playing against Rodgers and Kirk Cousins, but not only that, you're playing against Allen Robinson, Devontae Adams, Adam Thielen. You need a good shutdown cornerback, and I think Jeff Okuda is your guy. The way he plays, I'm not saying that he's going to end up being as good as Darrelle Revis, but you can't really throw into his area. He's that dominant of a guy.
Okay, then why did you give him a minus? Well, what's the A minus for? Not
The
just an
only
A.
reason I give him an A minus
Yeah.
is because I wouldn't even say it's the Lions' fault. I just think he's like a bit of a step below Chase Young and Joe Burrow.
Okay, so that's just fitting into like the talent section of my factor,
Yeah. He's
basically.
just a
Got
he's
it.
just
Got
a
it.
tiny bit worse. He's
Okay.
not a huge drop, but just a bit worse.
Yeah, again, we haven't had that much debate. I gave Jeff Okuda an A, actually, just because I think the cornerback after the loss of Darius Slay is clearly the position that the Lions needed most, although they do need some other positions. And Jeff Okuda is also clearly the best cornerback in this draft. So there's not much else to say. I mean, the Lions didn't have much else of a choice. So I'm just going to give them an A for that selection.
Yeah, I
So
think
first
that
3, I'm being pretty boring, I guess, giving 3 A's, but I
yeah,
promise
I
you it'll
think
get a little
that
less boring. Hopefully,
yeah,
hopefully.
I think Jeff Okuda would like I agree with you that he should get an A. The only thing is I feel like he's
I
just
understand. He's just at a little lower talent level, but
just at
yeah.
a tiny bit of a lower level than
Okay, yeah. Okay, so now moving on. The Giants select offensive tackle Andrew Thomas from Georgia, which was the first and arguably the biggest surprise of this draft.
yeah.
I really do not like this pick. I gave it a D for a few reasons. Well, while I agree that the Giants need an offensive tackle, I feel like they could have traded down and taken a better offensive tackle than Andrew Thomas. So this doesn't work for my player talent category or for my player value, because I think that they could have gotten a better player in that position and at a lower draft pick. I really don't understand why they would take Andrew Thomas. Also, this is one of my main problems when teams take offensive tackles, or we'll see later in the draft with wide receivers. Teams are taking wide receivers early in the draft who aren't projected as high as some other wide receivers. That's fine if the Giants think that Andrew Thomas is the best offensive tackle in this draft, but I don't understand why they wouldn't use that to their advantage and trade down and get the same guy rather than just staying at 4 when they could probably get him at like 15 plus, unless all the NFL teams have like really liked Andrew Thomas and people were just unaware of this.
We don't know if all the other teams like Andrew Thomas. I don't know. I would say he would go around 11, 12, 13. I had him projected to around the Browns at 10. Mm-hmm. But what I would say is that, especially for Andrew Thomas, is that I feel like I agree with you that he was not a great pick, but like I think that the Giants did need an offensive tackle, and especially for the fact that the Giants could have traded down and got him, but I'm not sure it also shows how much they like him, because if they were willing to trade down, they were willing to not trade down and still pick him, that means that he was a level above all the other offensive tackles, which
I'm saying if the Giants think that Andrew Thomas is a level above, but none of the other teams think that, why not use that to their advantage and trade down and still get their same guy? It seems like a win-win. That's why I just didn't like their selection here.
Yeah, I would give it a C, honestly, because I think that, well, actually the last offensive tackle of the group, I think he was the best. I like Tristan Wirfs from Iowa the most. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I thought that Jedrick Wills was better. I don't know about Mekhi Becton. I think they're around even. But I think that especially for the Giants as a fit, they got who they needed. They need an offensive tackle because they need to protect Daniel Jones, who had a lot of fumbles last year. They need to get a good offensive line to help Saquon Barkley. And I think offensive line really establishes the whole offense as it is. But I think that Andrew Thomas isn't the right guy. I think all the offensive tackles have the ability to have the potential to be great, to be very good. But I'm not sure Andrew Thomas has the highest potential or the most consistent potential to be great. And that's why I give him a C.
One thing he does have is a high floor. I will say that.
Yeah.
But it's still inexcusable to take him that high.
He's inconsistent. I feel like for a Giants team that I feel, and I know this may be debatable, I feel like they're not that many pieces away. They can't be taking this big of risk. They can use that pick to really establish an offensive.
No, I was saying he has a high floor.
No, I know, but I'm saying is instead of, I feel like the Giants should use this pick to take a more consistent player instead of taking Andrew Thomas, who could either make your offensive line great or make your offensive line terrible. I would take one who could make yours above average, which is what I think all the other offensive tackles could do.
If you enjoyed this episode of From the Den, please remember to subscribe, comment, and like this video.
Or, if you're a Packers fan, remember to dislike and leave a nasty comment. Click the links on the screen to access additional content.